It's so good to see you all. So I'm Reverend Kathy. I'm usually the Minister of Announcements, but today I'm actually the presiding minister, both this week and next week, while our beloved Reverend Beth is on vacation. So I'm with you today. So good morning. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations peoples. So I know here where we are in Vancouver, we're on the land of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. And let us just pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. So welcome. Happy International Women's Day. Hooray. Which we just celebrated this past Wednesday on March 8th. And also we're celebrating Pi Day today. Hooray! So Pi Day stands for public, intentional, and explicit. And that's how we want our welcome of all of our LGBTQ two-spirited plus folks in our community, all of us, to know how welcome you are here and just how much we love having you be a part of the community. So we're celebrating that today. And we're going to be celebrating at the end of the service afterwards with many, many, many pies that Karen Vanderhayden and others baked and got ready for this. So we're so grateful. So a big welcome this week to all the women in our community who've done so much. We're going to be honoring them today, especially the Maple Group, who have worked for years to help support this community, and also our queer fellows among us. So thank you and good morning. When you're ready.
Please stand as you're able.
Good morning. My name's Mary Toth, and I'm the coordinator of the programs for children, youth, and families. And I'd like to welcome any children who are here this morning to come up and join me up here on the carpet. And while they're coming up, I wanted to thank everybody who's approached me in the last few weeks. Well, our Minister of Children, Youth, and Families, Tama, is on her medical leave. I'll be filling in a lot of her responsibilities, and many people in the congregation have come up to me in the last few weeks asking if they can be of any support and help out with the children. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. It's nice to know that we're part of such a loving community who really cares about the children and really values their presence here. But I want to let you know too that we're very well supported in the children's programs. We have Michelle over in the den stories with the toddlers, And we have Emily with the teens on Friday nights in the forest, and we're combining the meadow stories and the forest stories together to make sort of a glade, I guess. Is that where the forest and a meadow meet? I don't know. And that's not unusual. Several points during the year, like for 3 months in the summer, those two age groups join together, and for several points during the year. So it's like one big family. So we're all good, but if anybody calls in sick, I will be drawing on those people who offered help. The last few weeks, we've been having the youth speak to the congregation. You don't have to look very far to see that there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world right now, and the children and the teens feel it just like everybody else does. So we've asked the teenagers to just reflect on what gives them hope right now. So I wanted to invite Simon to say a few words about that this morning.
As I light this candle, the things that bring me hope are when young children see what's wrong in this world, when I hear good news about a friend that I have been hoping for, and when a random act of kindness takes place. Thank you.
Strength our prayer. Spirit God, be our breath, be our song. Go through us, bringing strength to move on. Through change, through challenge, we'll greet the new dawn. Spirit God, be our song. Through change, through challenge, we'll greet the new dawn. Spirit God, be our song.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So now is when our greeters will pass around the offering plates. And I do have some announcements, but before that, I want to say a big happy birthday to Heather Reed, who I know is watching from home. Happy birthday, Heather. You know, Heather is usually the one who helps set everything up here, so we miss her, but she set up a team doing that in her absence. So we hope you're having a good recovery and a wonderful birthday. And also, we just want to hold Thais Cornder and her family in our hearts. Her sister Shirley passed this week. So if we could just say a prayer for Shirley and for Thais and the whole family, it would be much appreciated. So this coming week, we have a few big events coming up. Our first one is the Monday night contemplation group. We'll be meeting. They're starting up a new series tomorrow night. And they're going to be reading A Sunlit Absence, which is the next book in Martin Laird's trilogy. So if you're interested in joining, if you want to know anything about that or take part, even if you haven't done the first reading, please talk to either Bob Russell or Tony Perroni, and you're welcome to join tomorrow night. The next day is going to be the Reconciliation Seekers Book Club meeting. That's going to be on Tuesday, March 14th. It'll be from 3 to 5 in the library, and they're reading Naim Wayut, We Are All One, by Chief Robert Joseph. So if you're interested in taking part in that, that'll be on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, Melanie Yip will be collecting food for First. I see many folks have been bringing in contributions of non-perishable foods and personal care items. Thank you so much for all that you've been contributing to that. And if you have anything else you'd like to contribute this month, you can bring it by on Thursday between noon and 1 at the Center for Peace or in the parking lot. She'll be right there and can collect those donations and take them to First United. And then I'll wait. I know I see many people in green, but I'll wait on that. I know we have Ann Galinsky. We'll be talking more about that event coming up on Friday. But then in the meantime, the following weekend, we're going to have our Enneagram workshop. That's going to be with Allison Rennie, who's wonderful, who's a trained facilitator teaching about the Enneagram. I think we have maybe 9 or 10 people signed up so far, but many others who've expressed an interest. And if you're all interested in that, please join us. It should be really fun. I know I first learned about the Enneagram in college, and I had a good friend who we were good friends, but we didn't really understand each other. And when I found out about the Enneagram, it kind of made sense in a way, because I'm an Enneagram 9, which is the peacemaker one. I want everyone to get along, no matter what. And I'll get mad at you if we don't get along, so that's got its own problems. But he's a type 1 who really wants truth and justice, so we were like kind of missing each other in key ways. And the Enneagram helped us in our friendship. So I highly recommend learning about the Enneagram, and if you're interested, you can talk to Colleen. She's organizing that. So that's what we have. That's many of our events coming up, but here are some others.
Good morning. I'm Tony Perroni. I'm here wearing my chair of the search committee hat this morning with an update on the process and progress of the search effort to find our new lead minister. I'm going to read out my announcement because I don't want to miss any important bits here, so bear with me. Essentially, we are still searching, and we will not be able to meet the April 1st target date that we had hoped for. As we shared with you at the congregational meeting, we culled down from a fairly large list to over a dozen candidates that we reached out to. Of those, a handful had applied, and we've now completed those interviews. One of the applicants we were very excited about, and we're ready to proceed to the second interview, but that candidate decided to withdraw their application. We were pretty disappointed. And then we discerned that the other applicants that we had interviewed were really not a good fit for us, so we are continuing the search. Reverend Deborah Bowman, who's our regional supervisor, assures me that this is pretty normal in this 2023 world. She said that it's a hard time to get good ministers. It's a tough gig, probably because so many churches are struggling and people are not wanting to move right now. And I also kind of wonder if it's still a little bit of a hangover from COVID and that things may start to move more, just like we're seeing a lot more energy of people coming back to meet in person. So we'll see how this goes, that part goes. But also Vancouver is a bit tough for people because of the cost of living here. And we are very particular. You got to tell the truth, right? So in the United Church, we kind of run the gamut of orientations, theologically and in many ways, and we're particularly unique in many ways, which is what we love about ourselves, right? But a more traditional minister is really not going to be a good fit for us. So we really do have to just keep searching to find the right fit. So all of this means that this may take longer than we had expected. Deborah feels that we have completed phase 1 as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. She's been pretty impressed with the diligence our team has engaged in this process, and that we're not alone. She said both Ryerson and Shaughnessy took them longer than they expected to find their lead ministers, and North Lonsdale is kind of in the same boat we are right now. So we're not alone in this. So what does this mean going forward? We've been given a few names that we are reaching out to and to see if they may be good candidates to ask to apply. We're continuing to check Church Hub regularly because new profiles come up all the time. They're not all good fits for us, but we're checking it all the time. There's constant activity that we'll be monitoring. If what this means is that we do not have someone hired by the time Beth leaves, we will then be looking for a supply minister. And I just wanted to clarify this point. A supply minister is someone where we can make short-term contracts with. We do not need to commit to a year, for example. I think that was mentioned at the congregational meeting, and that's not the case with a supply minister. An interim minister is a 1 to 2 year contract, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to keep the door open and continue to be able to find someone as quickly as possible. So then the next piece is how do we hold all of that emotionally and spiritually, because I know all of you are as anxious as we are to find the right person as quickly as possible, and that will be ready when Beth leaves this summer. So my little mantra through this process is trust and faith. And I'm going to quote my dear beloved James Finley. He's one of my favorite teachers, who says, "God protects us from nothing and sustains us in everything. God is in us and with us, and we are not alone." So we are now on to the next phase of this process. We know the right person is out there, and we will keep on keeping on. We will do our best to keep you apprised of the progress of what's happening and at the same time maintain confidentiality. So we ask for your patience and your support and your prayers. Thank you.
Many thanks to Tony and the whole lead minister search committee. I know you all have been working so much, so we're just very, very grateful. Thank you.
Top of the morning to you. Well, I wonder what you're going to be doing this Friday night. I hope you will be coming to our dance party. Tickets will be on sale for one last time in the Great Hall after service today. And while you're there buying your ticket, why don't you take a moment, pop in a loonie, and guess how many of those kernels are in that tube? I mean, 10,000? I have no idea. Anyway, there's a prize for the best guess, or the closest guess. There's also a prize for the person that brings the most new faces to the dance. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that I am winning. Come on now. Come on now. Someone beat me, please. It is also the last time for you to indicate whether you would like to have a gluten-free pizza. We are offering that option, and so I'll be in the Great Hall after service. So come hungry on Friday night. We'll be offering slices of Boston pizza. We will have red wine, white wine, assorted beers. We'll have sparkling water, non-alcoholic beers, a smattering of non-alcoholic cocktails. So there's really something for everyone's a drink menu here. So please come and join us. We're looking so forward to having our band trilogy play and our singers and our community together to dance. I think it'll be such fun. So I'm hoping that you will join us. Doors open at 6:30, so bring your appetites and be here. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Perfect.
And this mic should be.
Is it on? Yep, I think it's on.
I think that's just a light, so we're going to have to share this mic.
Oh, is only one working? Oh, okay. Hi. Oh, which one? Oh. Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy.
And I'm Carol.
We are two of the many members of the transition team.
So, Tammy, I want to know, do you have any plans for the weekend of June? Carol, about it.
We,
Do you have any plans for the weekend of June 10th and 11th?
well, oh, it's really hard only having one mic. Well, Carol, I don't think so. This far in advance? Why? What's up?
Well, that's the weekend CMUC is going to throw a party to send Reverend Beth and her family off to their new adventures in great style. We want it to be an outstanding leave-taking event so that she and her family know how much we appreciate them.
You said party, and so I think of Heather McPherson, our extraordinary party person and baker. I'll bet she would really appreciate some help.
Oh, I agree, Tammy. And if anyone out there has just a little bit of time and would like to help, you just saw Heather stand up and wave at you so you can spot her in the crowd or at coffee, or I'll even give you her email address if you bribe me. Come and volunteer to help.
To get in touch with Heather and the rest of the transition team, go to the CMUC website and see the transition page. Hit the contact button to send us an email. If you prefer to have an individual conversation with the transition team, say so in the email and give us your contact info. We will get in touch.
Now, let's face it, there are still some people who don't have email, and for good reason. If you don't, but you have a friend or a relative who does, for heaven's sake, ask them to hit the contact button, send us a message with your phone number, and we will call you, really, we promise. And if you're here in person, just flag one of us down, and I'll make a note so that we know best how to reach you. Anybody online, talk to Stan at Virtual Coffee.
Yes, online. We know that Stan has been asking provocative questions during virtual coffee hour and collecting answers. That's great, because we know that you want to be involved as well, and we want your participation. Please talk it over today again in virtual coffee, and trust Stan to pass on your thoughts and ideas to the transition team, because he is a member of the team as well.
Yeah, good. Thank you for remembering to say that. Thank you, Stan. Well, all of this sounds like things are shaping up pretty well. So remember, please, that's the evening of Saturday, June 10th, and the morning of Sunday, June 11th.
Let's put that in our calendars right now. I know exactly where I'm going to be, and I hope you will all join in too.
Okay, Tammy?
And please remember, June 10th and 11th.
Save the date.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And also, I made an announcement earlier about a secret that has to do with that weekend. So if you missed that announcement about the secret, but you want to know the secret and you can keep a secret, please come find me later and I'll tell you the secret. So thank you so much. And as always, thank you for all that you contribute here. Please remember that you can donate on our website or through our PAR program. I know so many of you have been donating and doing so much work, which we're going to be honoring soon. And we're just so grateful for all that you contribute to make all of this possible for us. So thank you. And now let's stand as you're able and offer one another a sign of Christ's peace.
La 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 la. Don't bother me if you're old and young, if you got lots of money or you got next and where you think that we all go when we die. It ain't on my mind if you're big or small, how long it takes you to get up when you fall, if you can or cannot handle the spice. Yeah. In a world where you could be anything, I'll be kind to you. Could you be kind to me? Kind to me. It's all I'm asking. La 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 la. Ways into roll, or if you like guys, girls, both night, or somewhere in between, or like to dress up even when it ain't Halloween. I don't mind, I say each to their own. Yeah. In a world where you can be anything, I'll be kind to you. Could you be kind to me? Yeah, kind to me. It's all I'm asking. La 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 There's one thing in this life that is guaranteed to, and I must see a few things differently. In a world where you can be anything, I'll be kind to you, yeah. Could you be kind to me? Yeah. Kind to me.
Great, thank you. Please be seated. So I won't be delivering a big message this week because we're going to have a whole piece in just a bit. But I just wanted to say there's a passage in the Bible that doesn't usually get put, it's not in any of the lectionary readings, so I wanted to highlight it today. And it's Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 16. And it's usually entitled the one where he has personal greetings. So it makes sense that it's not in the lectionary, because it's just Paul kind of thanking his friends. But what's notable about that, if you read it, it's just a short chapter, maybe one page, is he's thanking all the people who've helped him serve the church. So in Rome, all those who've done so much to help him build his ministry and in his own life, and then running these churches and really promoting God's work at this time. And he lists 29 people and says a little bit about what they do. And of the 29, 10 of them are, yes, is this right? Yeah, of the 29, 10 of them are women. And he thanks them. So this usually, I wish this was in the lectionary, because it's actually really cool when you learn a little bit about this. And so the women he mentions do the following things. So the very first one is Phoebe. And Phoebe, he says, is the benefactor of the church. So she's in Rome, and she has enough funds and enough status in Rome that she can actually help financially support the church. But she's also a deacon or a church leader at the time. And think of it, this is a time where people usually think women couldn't be leaders, but she's definitely a leader, and she's the very first person that Paul thanks. And then he thanks some others. He thanks a couple who run house churches, and later on some others who are actually starting up. So this is still before the church is big and has big buildings like this. And so when the church is kind of, Jesus' message is being passed through the people, and several of the people running their own congregations are women. So he thanks them by name. And he thanks another couple who are missionaries and who are traveling around just like him and doing the exact same work as him. And he thanks the woman first before the man, because she's more integral in the work that's being done in that particular community. And then he thanks another couple who served in prison with him, who were activists at the time and who were willing to stand up for their own beliefs. And so he thanks them for their work. And several others, and then he says there's one who serves as a mother to him. It's one of his followers' mothers, but she also acts like a mother. So if you think about kind of the early motherly types who were doing the same kind of work that so many are doing here, right? And then he thanks many who worked so hard. And he says several times that they were laborers in Christ or laborers in Jesus. And so all these different ways of kind of being the church and of doing this work. And of the 29, 10 of them are women. And including some of the very first ones he mentions, the first two he mentions are women. And so I thought that was so beautiful and so much like the kind of work that we do here, with so many women who've worked for years and years, laboring hard, acting as a mother in the community, preaching the word, setting things up, starting programs, acting in leadership, doing the same stuff that the minister does. I always like when Reverend Beth says she's a minister among ministers, because that's true, because we have so many here doing work like that. And then the Bible verse that this was connected to this week is also, it's in Mark 14, when Jesus says he's sitting outside the treasury and he's watching those who are donating money. And you have some people who have lots of money, so they're donating a lot. But then there are others who have much less, but they still donate what they can. And the widow comes up and she puts the 2 gold coins in. And he goes and he tells his disciples what she gave is actually more important than what those who were giving large amounts gave, because it was all she had. She gave everything she could to help support the community. So I know so many of you have been doing that, and we're just so grateful for what you've been contributing over all this time, over the last 50 years of all that you've been contributing. So let's just take a moment now to sit in silence. Let's just close our eyes if you feel comfortable, and get comfortable. Let's just spend the next 2 minutes just thinking about those in our lives who've done so much, who've given what they could to help support us and to help build community. for all these people and for all these gifts. We're so grateful. And let's know that this is enough, that what you've already given is enough, that what you're contributing now is enough, and that you yourself are enough and are so beloved in this community. Amen.
All right, I think we're ready. Good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Vanderhayden, and today we are honoring and giving you a snapshot into the history of Canadian Memorial. Especially those who have joined in the last 10, 15 years may not know about this beautiful group of women called the Maple Group. And so we wanted to talk about the work and the women of this group. And two of them are sitting right beside me this morning. Pat Krakenthorpe is immediately to my right, and beside her is Anne Sanis. But I just wanted all the women from Maple to put up their hand just to show us who is here this morning. Yeah, lovely. Welcome to all of you. Yes, welcome, a warm welcome to all of you. Welcome back. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So this all began in summer. Anne and I had a conversation, and she was telling me all about Maple, and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to share that with this congregation, to let them know what happened and what the work of these women for so many years, for more than 5 decades, They worked and raised money. And interestingly, they did a lot of fundraising through making pies. So it's so beautiful, it's so fitting, it's Pie Day, and it just fits on many levels. So we're really delighted to have pies for all of you after service. And that's it. So I just want to hand it over to Pat.
Who would believe it? I find it rather amazing that Anne Sanis and I are up here representing members of the Maple Group on its 65th anniversary. Although Anne and I both come from Montreal and are roughly the same age, our connection with the Maple Group varies considerably. By that I mean, Anne joined this group of United Church women in the 1960s, roughly 45 years before I did. From what I gather in that time span, to coin a phrase, there's been a lot of water under the bridge. And now Anne would like to describe for us the role and influence of the United Church women in the past life of this congregation.
In 1958, Mrs. James Gorwell, the wife of the minister at Canadian Memorial, approached some of the younger women in the congregation with the suggestion that a new group be formed as part of the national organization, the United Church Women, or UCW. This group was to be named the Maple Unit after the new flag of Canada. Alice McGuinness was chosen to be the first president. And Thais Cornder, Carol Ross, and the late Pat Preston were also founding members. At the time, the UCW in this church was comprised of 8 units: Coronation, Victory, Corabeth, Fireside, Friendship, Chapel, Onward, Perlita, and now Maple. With about 10 to 20 women in each unit, this meant that over 100 women were meeting regularly for fellowship and fun, study groups, and fundraising for the church.
What's in a date anyway? What's in a date anyway? There are certain dates that people usually remember. Their birthday, if they're lucky, maybe a special anniversary, and latterly, perhaps the date and shock that was felt upon learning that the Queen had suddenly died. Conversely, what about March the 8th? And why do I recall that date so vividly? As a matter of fact, I remember attending a worship service at St. Martin in the Fields in London on that date. And a few years later, on the 8th of March, participating in a special worship service in Edmonton. No, not Edmonton in Alberta, but would you believe, Edmonton, a suburb of Cairns in Queensland, Australia. Congratulations if you know and or remember that March 8th is International Women's Day, and Anne's reference point to honor the 65th anniversary of the Maple Group.
During the early days of the UCW, few women had full-time jobs outside the home, and so could contribute their talents and energy to support the work of the church. As many members of the Maple Group had young families at home, it was advantageous to learn the trade by working alongside some of the older women in the other units. In addition to thrift sales, there was a poinsettia bazaar in the large gym in the old building, where for years the Maple Group provided those open-face buns with tuna, egg, and ham filling. Our children remember the tea served in the lounge with the silver tea service, all very formal. Gradually in time, due to health and mobility issues, The older units were obliged to disband, and the Maple Group was left to carry the torch, with a membership of about 25 to 30 from 1998 to 2011.
Letters. We got letters. Lots and lots of letters. When Anne gave me this envelope filled with lots of cards and letters, all I could think of was the Perry Como jingle. Letters. We've got letters. Lots and lots of letters. Here's Perry. Apart from that reminiscence, I reminded myself that it wasn't all that long ago when folks actually wrote thank you letters. The Maple Group was often a recipient of notes of appreciation, and many of these were written on an artistically designed Canadian Memorial Church and Centre for Peace note card. I liked the look of these so much that I wanted you to see one for yourselves.
Okay. We baked cookies, we made Christmas puddings and mincemeat, we sewed and knitted goods, and Shirley Reed made her famous kitchen towels. We held fashion shows from on-the-go shop up in Kerrisdale with our own church women rather famously as models. Thanks to Shirley Reed's contact at the Vancouver Museum, Ivan Sayre presented his vintage clothing fashion show. We also held theater nights with the Western Gold Retired Professional Actors Group. Pat Preston, Carol Ross, and Edith Matthews organized funeral receptions in the Great Hall. Those three, plus help from others, made apple, blackberry, and rhubarb pies, which sold like hotcakes after church on Sunday. This was a huge moneymaker. There's no pies for sale today, but you can enjoy a slice at coffee hour after church, thanks to the new group of bakers from the congregation. Latterly, we held mini bazaars selling baked goods, jams, and handcrafted items. One year, we added dried flower arrangements. All summer, we gathered flowers from gardens and roadsides, dried them, and ultimately turned my basement into a rather messy workshop. Merrill and Kernahan made dozens of muffins for sale after church. For a few years, Natalie Hall ran a used clothing area out of the church's basement storage room. She called it Piece by Piece. Thanks to the support of our congregation and friends, from 1958 to 2011, Maple Group raised nearly $30,000. Each year, 50% was given directly to church operations, as well as contributions to the new roof fund, the restoration of the stained glass windows, and the purchase of new hymn books and kitchen equipment, while 50% was donated to church missions and outreach. And these included First United Church, the Vancouver School of Theology Bursary Fund, Camp Furcombe, Naramata Center, street meals, in from the cold dinners at First United. We sponsored an African child through the Families for Children organization, and we also donated to the microfinancing project in the South African townships. And this is an interesting story on its own, and one that should be told to the congregation, because several of our members in the congregation have been involved from the beginning. That's about 20 or 25 years ago, and actually went down to South Africa to witness firsthand how this money helped support these women who are trying to look after their families, setting up small businesses. I can't help but think that Colonel Follis would be proud of Canadian Moral Congregation as we have continued to carry out his vision of supporting the wider community as well as caring for each other.
Celebrating Maple Group's 50th anniversary. It was always my intention upon retirement to join the Maple Group. However, 2 months after becoming an illustrious retiree, I moved to Sydney, Australia, where I lived for 8 years. Upon my return to Vancouver in 2004, I was rather amazed to learn that the Maple Group was still in existence. And naturally, I joined up. But then I experienced a shock of reality. Many of these women had been members of this same group for over 40 years. How was it that this group had managed to maintain such enthusiasm for themselves, the church, and also the wider community? And when I learned that their 50th anniversary was not that far off, we decided that a major celebration was in store. We set the date for September 2008 and wanted to make sure that all who drove along West 16th knew of our excitement. Once Edith Matthews had designed the unique invitation, plans were set in motion. We created and printed the church bulletin for the service, selected the music, organized flowers in the sanctuary, and on the day, welcomed the congregation, including 15 previous members. Of course, we participated in the service and had special gifts for the congregation, but not before lead minister Bruce Sanguin and I had participated in a rather humorous dialogue celebrating the donation, namely 15 pew cushions that are still in use today. A sit-down luncheon followed, during which Maple Group's somewhat infamous quintet amused those gathered with another one of their rather silly songs. The tables were decorated with 50th anniversary serviettes and flowers from members' home gardens. Maple Group's famous bunwitches were served, and founding members Pat Preston and Thais Cornder cut the group's favorite lemon cake. The afternoon ended with a photo call in the courtyard of the Center for Peace, alongside the heritage Japanese maple that was a gift from the Maple Group in celebration of the 50th anniversary of their formation. In closing, I would like to say that when I first joined the Maple Group, I wondered what made each monthly meeting feel like a special event. Then I figured it out. As there was no president, no permanent chair, all members contributed their different interests and abilities in various ways. With this format of a different chair each meeting and a unique monthly roster that focused on hospitality, worship, and a program, every meeting became distinctive. There were, however, 3 constant features. Members of the group cared deeply for each other and shared a willingness to serve this congregation and the wider community.
So, what an incredible story. What a legacy. So what's it really all about? Well, when I arrived at this congregation 20 years ago, I was searching for a new spiritual home. After auditioning quite a few other churches, Canadian Memorial was my ultimate choice, and the very big reason for my wanting to be here was the Women of Maple group. Here was a group of dedicated and wise elders in the church, perhaps retired from their previous work, but still very active within their community of faith. The Maple group gave social support to one another, and with their arranged outings and in-house events, they certainly offered each other emotional support as life's challenges emerged, and they shared their spiritual strength with prayer and discussion. The Maple group walked the walk. They worked hard for their church, realizing that running a church depended on the volunteer labor and independent fundraising activities to sustain the life and raison d'etre of their church. These women were inspirational for many of us slightly younger following along, who wanted to be part of a thriving and enriching community. Their commitment made it abundantly clear that a church can only survive with love and volunteer labor. Indeed, one of their intrepid members, my friend Natalie Hall, wrote a play and produced it with Maple Group members playing the parts, called Women of the Early Church. It captured the essential role women played in the very beginning as sustainers of the early Christian church, and so it continued with the driving force of the Maple Group women, and so it must continue in order for church communities to thrive today.
I would like to describe for you a meeting when I was responsible for programming. This meeting happened to be on Shirley Reed's birthday. Her daughter, our very own Heather Reed, was specially invited to the meeting, and my household baked Shirley a chocolate cake. I also read her this story entitled Shirley and Marcy. So here's the story. A mother was concerned about her kindergarten son walking to school, especially since he didn't want his mom to walk with him. She wanted to give him the feeling that he had some independence, yet still know that he was safe. So she had an idea of how to handle it. She asked a neighbor if she would please follow him to school in the mornings, staying at a distance so her son probably wouldn't notice her. The neighbor was pleased to help out, since she was up early with her toddler anyway, and it would be a good way for all of them to get some exercise as well. The next school day, the neighbor and her little girl set out, following behind Timmy as he walked to school with another neighbor girl he knew. And they did this for the whole week. As the two walked and chatted, kicking stones and twigs, Timmy's little friend noticed the same lady was following them, as she seemed to do every day all week. Finally, she said to Timmy, "Have you noticed that lady following us to school all week? Do you know her?" Timmy nonchalantly replied, "Yes, I know who she is." The little girl said, "Well, who is she?" "That's just Shirley Goodness and her daughter Marcy," Timmy replied. "Shirley Goodness? Who the heck is she? And why is she following us?" "Well," Timmy explained, Every night with my prayers, my mom makes me say the 23rd Psalm because she worries about me so much. And in the psalm it says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." So I guess I'll just have to get used to it. May surely goodness and mercy be with all of you today and always.
So we really are concluding now. Here we go. So I just wanted to say that for more than 5 decades, the women of the Maple Group stepped up. They supported the life of this congregation, this community of faith, as you have heard. So in keeping with the spirit of International Women's Day, it seemed particularly fitting to hold up the important work and contribution of this incredible group of women as a lasting legacy and gift to this congregation and this community of faith. It has formed the fabric and the history of this place, and we wanted to make sure that you got to hear about their work from their voices and hear their stories. So there will be a special table for all of you in the Center for Peace, and pie, many beautiful varieties of pie, so we hope that you will join us after church. And I just wanted to ask, if possible, if you're able to stand, we would just love to just acknowledge you as a congregation. So would you ladies please stand? And if you can stand, if you can't, then stay seated, of course.
Beautiful, thank you. Many thanks to the Maple Group for all that you've done over the last 65 years to support this community. And thanks to all the rest of you who donate each week and over the years, and all that you bring in to just build this church up. Let's go forth knowing just how important this work has been, knowing that we are enough, that everything we contribute just matters so much to helping all the people here in this room and those at home now. And let's just know that this is enough, and in this way we can support one another. Happy International Women's Day and happy Pi Day. Amen.
When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand, and nothing is going right, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten even your darkest hour. Sing. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You've got a friend. All right, let's all sing it together. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You've got a friend. You got a friend. Ain't it good to know that you got a friend? You got a friend. Have a great Sunday, everybody.